they have very solid SOPs. And as you said, you can just customize them to what it is you want. So having a preamble and some policy, blah, 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 and again, not required as a must. But this is how it looks like for one of their IRBs. So you are then in the purpose of the SOPs, then they have ethical requirements of clinical research. They flag that out because we have what we call low risk, medium risk, and high risk studies. And clinical trials and clinical research is seen as leading towards high risk. So they wanted to have a specific section on that. Then the scope of the responsibility, objectives, functions, the status of the Kenya UC within AKU. This is from Kenya University. They have a section on accountability. Then they have a section that on the composition of the membership. So they clearly stated who can be a member in that ethics committee, what is considered a quorum before a meeting happens. For example, the layman or the laywoman, the layperson must be present, things like that, and the minimum number required, if it's 50 plus, that needs to be there. Then the issue of how to appoint, the things we are talking about, appointment of new members. There's some writing detail about replacing a member who moves or dies or does misconduct. There's a member who does the FFPM, remember the cardinal sins, fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism, or any other type of misconduct may be required. Either they step down or they will be asked for. So you will show how those people are replaced and things like that. The terms of appointment, the conditions of that appointment, and then there's something about the training. So this particular RB has a paragraph where they describe about the CMEs and the annual trainings and things like that. Then when we talk about the heart of the reviews, so they have the section they call the conduct of business, so the procedures, the meetings, the pathway to review. So sometimes maybe have a diagram showing you the person who arrives, Gloria gets you, things like those. So you have a pathway. They talk about the full review, expert review, the exemption from review, and issues about multi-site studies. For example, you may have a study that is here and also in MTRH, and you approve it here. When the PI sends his research assistants to Moi University, do we make them again go through another review? Those types of things have been captured here about approvals from other IRBs in the country and also outside the country. Then they talk about documentation, submission, certification. Like for this particular IRB, they have an online system and all that, so they put the details about that, and then the turnaround times and how the approvals are done. Then for post-approval responsibilities, that's their section number 5, and here they just talk about the follow-up procedures post-approval. So this is where you will talk about if you're going to be doing one annual visit to a PI and things like that. Sometimes what does that mean? Going all the way to their site where they're collecting data or visiting the PI at their office. All those are things to do well. Then the records to keep. And then another useful thing is the appendices. You can see some of the documents they've developed. They have a progress report. They have an evaluation form. They have, if you want your work exempted, they have a flow, a pathway for someone who thinks their project does not require full review. How do they apply for that? They have that. They have how you respond after we like Appendix 7. Once we've sent you the feedback as a committee, how do you respond to us? So there is an appendix for that. Then they had an appendix where they put the current committee members and things like that. So this is just an example of an SOP. So based on the SOP you can see what it is you want to add, like in the appendices. Like I said, the example of Military Hospital, they have when you have a severe adverse event, there's a form to the PI know how to report. It's available online. When you have amendments, maybe you go to the field and you realize this template thing is not working, the nurses are on strike, I need to change something. So when you do an amendment, again, there's a form, just a one-pager, never more than a page, that guides the PI how to submit that. We have also, I talked about the closeout form, where the project is coming to an end. There's a closeout form and things like those. And they are always like one page, and they are in a repository somewhere. Maybe it will be on your website. You can have a website for their But even if you have it in a live Google document where Gloria has access, when a PI asks for it, it can be available. Those are the types of appendices you would put in your maybe let's see if I can show you some in the SOP, so that for this one they put them at the very end. See, this is like the evaluation form. It makes it so easy for someone to do the evaluation things, and I think this form is too busy. But some are long, some are shorter, but you can have them somewhere. It makes also the reviews straight and easy. I think an exemption letter is there, and things like that. I don't know what you have to say about.
So just to go, so the review of the changes that we make will happen during our annual costly site review. Like we would submit a yearly report to you guys to say, these are the works and activities that we did over the course of the year. Those activities was working on SOPs. Here's a new copy. And it's just like who is submitting feedback that you guys see. Or how.
For the Nacosti one, there's a template.
Not for the customers.
For yourself.
Because we're not going to be sitting together as a young group, crafting the documents, changing things. And we may decide, based on basic conditions, we're going to do post-monitoring, then it'll be just village myself. And you may decide when you see it, wait a minute, one person? Hey, that's us. You want this too. Like, how does that feedback into so that as we make changes to things that we think are appropriate for the new appropriate and see from a different perspective.
Actually, I mean, a lot of that kind of decision making is left to the LS committees, but it's assumed that you go through it and you think that could work. But like for the visits, we rarely have one person going, and the chair is very involved because they're so busy, but maybe here it might be possible. There will always be someone from the secretariat or two people from the secretariat, and then there one person from the committee can be there. And let's say someone is going to visit a PI who's doing a clinical trial, don't send via like the social scientists. Much as I can engage the material and things like that, if you can, you send remember you're a multidisciplinary team for a reason, isn't it? Yeah, so you would send that. Then if it's maybe a study that is using social science approaches and all that, you will send someone. But
so that was a specific example. Maybe another example would be like, for our post-election matrix reviews, like say we give you feedback, we need you to change these things, we need you to review back, make those changes and send it back, and then the chair will review it. Or the designated person will do this. The chair will review it. Maybe that's another example. No, again, one person fully responsible. You guys have to, like, what, I'm just saying, like, something. How do we know that we don't make a mistake? That's my question.
You follow the SOP. That's why you need to have an SOP. Because the SOP will give you specific instructions on how to do what you're saying to you, how many people will do it, how often. That's why I think you need to work on your SOP. The fact that it's
I don't want to make a mistake on the SOP.
That's my point. Yeah. Oh, I see what you mean. I can share from what we've been doing, but rule of thumb, it's very rare that you have a monitoring and evaluation team of one. Then it's not a team as such. Yeah, it's not a team at all. And even when a PI is coming, maybe you're calling them either on a virtual call or they're coming in person, we often encourage the PI to come with their study coordinator. Because actually the study coordinator, that's the person who's implementing a lot of things, and sometimes they have a lot of information even more than the PI themselves. And they're the ones keeping the books and things like that. So, but where you're unsure, the reason why you are sent to shadow another IRB is because you can ask for guidance. You can even ask them, what are you doing about this part? And you can also ask them. and you can ask Violet. Then I would pick it, I would get the information easily for you from several libraries, and then you see what you want to do. But I'm aware of reviews being done by one person. That's common in very many IRBs. Either it's a very low risk study, things like that, or someone has asked for expedited review because they think it's low risk, things like that. Expedited projects don't go through the full review. If you think that can be done, and you know I can review this very well because the topic aligns maybe with her training or things like that, then it's done by one person, and it will be recorded that she's the one who reviewed that protocol. And then there will be protocols reviewed. The default is 2 people reviewing one protocol. And like I said, you can also have a third reviewer according to need because of the complexity of the project, and that's okay also. So I think my easy answer is an acoustic expects you, they give you that they give a template of the SOP so that at least those are the minimum requirements that should be on your SOP, but you can expand it as much as possible and adjust it to fit the context as much as possible.
So, so can you imagine I had no idea what you can expect from the first time?
You didn't know?
I had no idea.
They didn't send you information?
No information about exactly what we were coming to.
They're supposed to.
They did say we are coming to inspect the place, but then I went over a few more details, like what
They're
should
supposed to
be
give you more
There
information.
was nothing.
They even send a form.
No, there wasn't a form.
Yeah. Wallet.
And so my impression for that day was what I got from January, and then the truth was some other folks who then were disappointed. That was how we went that day. And it was a very hot day because they were asking for many things that, well, we are prepared and everything, we are not ready. In any case, what I'm trying to say is that even since then, several emails, several phone calls, there's never response from the hospital. So, just trying to say that the process, I think, can be a little more streamlined, a little more open than what we experienced. But that said, I will probably be reaching out a lot more to you.
Let me I'm not happy with numbers to myself. There's a lot of complaints. In fact, when now I reached out to some of the NACOST officers, they just said, we just waiting. It's all looking for and it's like, so you're supposed to have received that kind of thing, like the National Biology Committee, we haven't met for more than a year. We're supposed to meet with them. Since we go, and we're on an advisory committee, so we can't force them to have us on our meeting. So things like those. So there is a problem at the top. So we do the best. In fact, I don't know who came for the visit. There should have been someone from the ethics committee. Maybe they came mainly from the secretary. So people applying even for the permit are forwarding emails to me, and I'm sure they understand that. So let's hope the best. Actually, so yeah, I'm just saying your observation is noted. It shouldn't have been like that. There's actually a form that they send you ahead of time. You enter data, how many have you reviewed. I mean, it's not supposed to be, oh, we've come. You know, that's not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a supportive visit. Yeah? No, seriously. It was a bad day. It was on age. So it's supposed, there's like a form they send you and you fill a lot of it and you even send it back to them before they come. That should have been done. But there's something not right happening and I think I've already agreed. Only.
That's one of your connection.
Slightly. So shall we agree that we're going to, in this way, we're going to work on the SOPs? And where you need guidance or support, you just let me know. Because usually what I'll do, I check with the big file also, IRBs, and I check that section of the SOPs, and even if it's not online, they can get it from there. And then you're able to see what will work for you. And because this is supposed to be a cost-effective support, that's what it is, you can plagiarize. We are helping ACOSTI to keep the study participants safe across the country. country. It's their business. But we're helping them, and clearly it's pretty good at teaching. Alright, let me see. So, which one? I think it was going. Oh, the young man is here, so we're still safe. So, like I said, I've shown you the SOP from a mainstream, IRB that's doing quite well in the country. The list you can keep adding and adding appendices that help you to deliver on this. But it's not easy, and this cartoon, each time I see it, I feel like, oh, poor guys. The bus says research is running over people. This says what? Research manager. We care about careful research, full stop. Report problems to the research manager. So we're saying we would like people with complaints or who are confused or they need advice when they're writing their protocols, they should come to you. And this is a volunteer pro bono work. So it's not going to be easy, but I hope I can convince you to continue doing what you're doing. Because first of all, like I said, in the region, people think we're doing so well. So people also from the region, from the neighboring countries are coming to Iserc like yours to ask for guidance as they try to figure out what to do. So do the best you can with the limited resources and the limited support that you have. And the few pockets of people that can bring out, Caro and a few other places, we can put our minds together and help each other. There was a time a colleague, a friend again, who just met through research from Ethiopia. They had a big genetic study and the national committee was supposed to review and approve, and they got stuck and they called to us for help. So let's work together and just do the right thing the best way we can. And like I said, apart from reviewing, honestly, you guys are going to be educators about research ethics, even about research methods, and supporting the early career researchers to know how to navigate the research approvals and things like that in the country. So keep doing it. Remember what I was talking about independence from the appointing officers. Alright? There's a lot of conflict of interest. There are those issues about money. You will get a call from a PI who will say, Roche is taking the money away because you have not finished reviewing the protocol. This is a lot of money, it's going to go away. It was coming to the oncology unit. What are you doing? It's coming with radiology things and so that will happen. It's like a pressure cooker. The IRB, there's a lot going on. And that's why you notice I keep emphasizing being a moral person, a virtuous person, and teach the next neighbor to be the same way. And let's do the right thing. We are not sitting on protocols, but we need especially high-risk protocols to be fully reviewed to make sure we advise the PIs on what needs to be done, at least for our context. Because some of these projects will say, but it's already been approved in Uganda and Tanzania. Why is it so long in Kenya? And we say, take us slowly, please. We are almost done. And sometimes, very often, we will send them these 4 or so questions and then they say, oh, yeah, actually, we did that. So be yourself, do your job, don't apologize for doing the right thing. But it's not going to be easy, and sometimes, you might have a CEO, we've had this happen, call and say, there's a big brand that has come and here you're still sitting with the protocol. So, challenges are there, but for us to be effective, that independence needs to be valued. Diverse membership helps you to have a lot of ideas, and that's why even having James, a layman who thinks as someone in the community who will engage with that PI brings a new perspective to all this. That transparency, but also having resources to support the ethics committee. Are you charging a fee? Are you charging the PIs a fee when you're reviewing protocols? I see someone doing this. Are we charging a fee? Even if it's small. So say yes. Why are you're charging a fee? How much is it? Yeah, so there's a fee. So what are you going to do with that money? So it needs to be, honestly, for an ethics committee to work very well, it needs to be sufficiently funded. Maybe you want to have an annual retreat where you go and you reflect and you look at your numbers and you plan, do the annual plan for it, or you want to train a few, 3-4 doctors who are new, you want them maybe to be in the next committee. You want maybe to have trainers like the way we come, yeah? We had to drive here and all that, there's money to be spent. See, when you have, when the CMO or a health officer will be values the committee and what you're doing, and when you start reviewing more and more, you might realize having a protected fund to support the ethics committee's function is really important. You need lockable cupboards, you need readily whatever Wi-Fi, things like that. So these are things to think about. But at least you're a private institution, maybe it's easier for you than it is for us. We've been having problems getting funding in the university for the ethics committee. All right. Then this number one is so important. How does the appointing authority show, appreciation to the ethics committee? Just say, oh, well done. You ask that what other ethics committees are doing. It's something to think about. You need, when you have volunteers, that's why we keep saying be nice to their community promoters. We are not paying them. Can we just keep them motivated at least? That's the least you can do. How do you keep the ethics committee members motivated to continue serving? Right now you don't have a lot of protocols. A time will come where you have to review 3 protocols per week and they don't consider things you're doing. So you have to think about that. It could be a t-shirt that says, whatever, Christmas month. I don't know. Some places they're giving a certificate of recognition or things like that. An annual dinner where names, I don't know. You can think about that. But as you work and as I finish, I want to remind you what all this business is all about. We started at just KJs, we had Mimbani and all these other problems. It's about the participant. You want to always imagine you're wearing the shoe, don't prescribe it, of the participant. Now, this is an ethics committee. Maybe in Chogoria, this one says, who's that? Then the other one says, oh, I studied the subject. And even the title, it's subject now. Oh my, what should we do? Has anyone ever seen one before? Somebody give her a cookie. So this is like an Iserc that is so disengaged from the research space and the participant that even they talk about the participant as a thing almost, not really understand. So I encourage you to continue having the CMAs and to just increase your ability to do scientific work and to review scientific work, but also to have an eye for the ethical considerations. We said we want to be virtuous and be the moral gatekeepers. So always when you think about the harms, think beyond physical. Quite often the psychological are forgotten. So think of it as a physical, social, legal, environmental. What could this study leave behind that may be harmful and it can't balance the risks, the benefits? Yeah, so think about that and aim to build a very strong institutional review board in this part of the country so that we promote well-being. And you remember what I said when we started. Let's unite. We can tie up our life. Any questions?
I still want to come back to the question of having some evidence. So I feel like that expertise to just this is the wording that the costly had. This is the final document that we So after there's a phase where the amendments they have to suggest to us. So this is the last one. We're going to appeal this content before a lack of the document that is to resolve the process.
what was it missing?
Approval of proposal or lack thereof.
But he just moved.
Yes.
You're supposed to go into the office and see. He's pointing out that you have this. But yet this is.
Yeah, that's why I think so it's too much for the business. Yeah, interestingly. But like I've explained, you're supposed to be independent of the institution in making your decisions about research. Unless there is research misconduct. Let me clarify this. There is research misconduct. And there is, research misconduct actually often is not supposed to be catered for by the ethics committee. It's supposed to be a research integrity officer in the institution who takes care of that. Like in the university, research ethics concerns will come directly to the IRB, but this will be things like to do with the consenting, the fidelity of the project and things like that. But where there is academic misconduct, for instance, if we're talking about falsification of the data, plagiarism of the protocol for the student, maybe publication ethics, all those things are not considered business of the research ethics committee. The research ethics committee is busy. Their main job, like I said, is to educate the consortium here at Chamboria and to review protocols. That's the reason. And follow up to just check if this person is keeping the fidelity of the protocol that was approved. All these other things that are happening are supposed to be dealt with by the institution itself. So, like academic, we call it academic misconduct. This one, it's dealt with in the departments in the schools. Yeah. So if it's a student in the School of Public Health, that academic misconduct will be, even if it was about their research and their protocol and other things, will be dealt with in the Department of School of Nursing or School of Public Health and things like that. Does that make sense? So if you go this route, then the institutional head at some point, maybe the dean or whatever is the lead. But when it comes to issues of, let's say, a protocol came, you reviewed, you send them comments, they send back an edited version, but the committee feels it's still not feasible and it's not an ethical project, it can be done. But it's very few RBs that turn down and say, we deny you approval. I rarely hear of it because we give so much feedback. Most of the time, they improve the protocol and move on. But there's been a few that are being said, this can be done in this country. And sometimes you may even need to call another IRB or NACOSTI if you're unsure. There are few that have been turned away. That kind of person might come now to do an appeal. They're supposed to appeal to NACOSTI NSEC. To the NACOSTI, the mother Iserc, which is the one at NACOSTI. It reviews the protocol on behalf of the PR. This is the first time I've had an ethics committee being told to take an appeal to the CEO. It's never been done and I've never heard of it. But appeals have been taken up to the NSEC, which is an Iserc, which is now overseeing the Isercs. And then we are able to,
So I guess we will tackle that when we get to the answer.
We can change it. We have
And actually, like I said, NACOSTI gives you the template and guidance to just remind you, have something on quorum, have something on membership, but we allow you to customize it in a way that it reflects your result. So any appeals, I would, because the SOP is what also your clients reviews, the PIs. So you want to make sure it's correct. So if you want them to appeal to the CEO, you can leave it there. If you think they should be appealing to the NSEC, that's all it should be. So my last slide is just going to say thank you. Any questions? Any questions about the ethics committee and research approvals? Do you know what you do after that? Do you have a template letter that you use to communicate approval? Did you add all those things that NACOSTI wants you to say, oh, now you need to go to NACOSTI?
NACOSTI gave us a template.
Yes.
I fleshed that out using my own
Yeah. Good, because that letter now guides the PI to know after they're done with their approval, they need to go for the next, whether they need to go to AWS